Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. The talk today is about sleep. By the way, we stream to Rumble now. Welcome. Those of you who are watching now or watching the replay on Rumble, we're really excited to be here. We have to stream to Rumble because it's just a matter of maybe a couple months and YouTube will deplatform me. They're already doing it. They they go back 3 years and find the show and they give me a strike. You can't stream for 5 days. You can't stream for 7 days. And I think I have one more strike on YouTube, and then we're off. So we're going to go to Rumble. We hear good things about it. We hope that you enjoy the shows. We bring good content. We try to help people stay healthy and alive. And Sean Watson, we have a investors newsletter going out tomorrow. Wait till you see. I had a meeting with Cabela's and Bass Pro yesterday. We are in their stores. We're designing packaging just for them. You'll see it in the email tomorrow. I love Instagram because it gives you like a top line pulse read on what's wrong with America today. So everybody has hemorrhoids. Nobody sleeps anymore. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you just look at that as the barometer of what's wrong with people, sleep and hemorrhoids. It's like, I can't believe it. And the reality is that mental illness is tied to sleep problems. There's a lot of people out there who don't sleep well for a variety of reasons. Sleep is tied to so many different things, and so many different things are tied to your sleep. Like when you don't sleep well, you become diabetic. So we're going to talk about sleep today because there's this illusion out there that if you just fall asleep, which a lot of these supplements that they focus on, fall asleep faster. Anesthesia will make you fall asleep really fast, and you can sleep for 5, 6, 7 hours. But you never wake up refreshed. You don't wake up and go, wow, that was great. I think I'd like to do that again. And that's because sleep has an architecture, and we're going to discuss that today. And we're going to talk about sleep a little deeper than most people probably want to talk about it. Before we get started, we have to thank our title sponsor, and that's Legendary Foods, makers of the Sweet Roll. They come in cinnamon, chocolate, and wild berry. Think of a Cinnabon in the airport and think about how you walk past them. And you don't stop and eat them because it's garbage. Well, the Sweet Roll will satisfy your urges to have a Cinnabon. 20 grams of high-quality protein, 1 gram of sugar, 5 grams of net carbs. It's great. Check it out. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary. Use the code SHR10 to let them know that you learned about them here on Superhuman Radio. And now, without further delay, one of my favorite guests, and I say that completely honestly because I just love hanging with this guy. And someday my lifestyle will change where I can actually sit across the table from him and have a meal. Wade Lightheart, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. Great to be here, Carl. I know I've been traveling a lot, so I'm happy to be back on the show. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, you whirlwind. So we were talking about something. So you did a marathon.
Yeah. 6 months after the Natural Olympia. Which is I did it 50. So I decided, you got to kind of be the brand that you're bragging about.
Right.
If you can't do what you're advocating, then you better be, right. You need to demonstrate whatever you're doing. And so I did that show, which was fun. And genetically, I probably shouldn't be a bodybuilder. It's just a sport that I liked, and I like the benefits of bodybuilding. And I'm not Mr. Olympia, like a drug using and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And I'm not against it. Hey, that's their thing. That's great. But then I was like, okay, we got this new book coming up this fall. It's really exciting. We're going to blow away the whole concept of dietary tribalism. I'm a plant-based guy. Matt, my business partner, is a keto guy. And so I was like, okay, well, we talk about, okay, how to pick a diet based on your genetics. based on your goals and outcomes. And then I knew the criticism would be, well, I said, okay, you're 50 years old, you're getting into bodybuilding competition, you won Mr. International, you went to the Natural Olympia, and everyone's going to say, hey, wait, you know what? That's okay for you, but you've been doing bodybuilding your whole life. And of course, it's easy for you to get in shape at 50. You've been doing this, it's easy. And there's some legitimate criticism there. I think that's a fair assessment to a certain degree. So I was like, okay, what's something that, because I'm encouraging people to take the next step in their health and their vitality and do things they can't think of doing. I said, well, what would be the craziest thing that I could do would be the antithesis to bodybuilding. And I was like, well, go run a marathon. So I started training for the marathon in November, immediately after the Olympia. And I did a half marathon here in Los Angeles 4 months later, felt great. And, geared up just before my birthday a week or so ago to do the Vancouver marathon because I lived in Vancouver for about 20 years and it's a beautiful city. And I thought, hey, what a great place to run a marathon. I'm going to have all these memories while I'm running. It's going to kind of distract me. So I did it. Everything went great till mile 21. And then I discovered what the wall was. I got the knives in the quads and, fought through just an absolute miserable three and a half miles from about mile 22 to mile 25. And we got through it and I finished in just over 4 hours, which wasn't bad for my first marathon, having never run that distance before. But the long and story short was I was able to prove to myself that you can engage in a completely different outcome even as a middle-aged guy, and produce decent results if you apply some sensible training, a progressive process, and be willing to fail.
Right.
And learn from the failures. Not fail for the sake of failing, but be okay with failing on your way to learning. And I learned some things from that race that should I decide to do another marathon, and I'm on the fence about it because a part of me is like, well, I could have probably ran about a 3:45 if I had been able to do that. And I know why I went wrong. I consulted with some people and I was like, oh God, dude, I'd kind of like to try to do that. So anyways, long story short, we're excited. We're here.
Do you think of any supplements that could help not hit the wall to reduce lactic acid buildup, like beta alanine and stuff like that?
Well, I think there's a number of things, but I think where I went wrong is I was riding solely on nootropics and ketones and electrolytes as my sources of fuel. And according to an endurance trainer who's also my chiropractor, what happened is, because I carry quite a bit of muscle mass for my size, said I was burning carbohydrates the entire race. So I was at about 10 heartbeats higher than I normally train at. And I felt amazing. Like I couldn't believe how fast and how good I felt.
You were high.
I was smooth. Like everything was great. But what happened is I completely exhausted my glycogen levels by about that point. And I wasn't replacing glycogen because, and that's a bias, because, when I went to these runs, I see kind of these flabby looking runners or these thin runners, and they're doing these gels and there's bars. And they're all about the carbs. They're all about these like sugar fast carbs. And I'm like, I don't know about this stuff. That doesn't look like a good idea. And then I remember running through the race and I saw there was like the regular tables for everyone. And then there was the elite tables. And the elite tables, they had all these like gels and bars and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm staying away from that. I'm not an elite guy, so I shouldn't be doing that. Well, after the race, I talked to my chiro, who's a guy that's run 50K, 100K, crazy runs. I said, what happened? He says, well, there's 3 reasons you fail in an endurance race. Your lungs give out, your heart gives out, or your muscles gives out. And he says, you ran out of carbohydrates. And so literally, I just had no more fuel left at that point. And that's what it felt like. Like it just ran out of gas. And my legs seized up. And so I fumbled and bumbled my way through it and kind of got through it. But now I learned, and I should have been taking carbohydrates about every 45 minutes in the run. He said, you take them 45 minutes because it takes about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the source of carbohydrates. So it's just a rookie mistake. But I'm like, okay, now I know what it's like as no carbohydrates. So the next time I would run it, I would add those in as the thing, and you learn. So anyways, I'm always up.
Interestingly, Elisa did a mini marathon here in Louisville.
Right.
And she ran and walked it. It was her and her couple girlfriends, and they just enjoying themselves. And when she got like 2/3 of the way through, she started to feel terrible. She claimed that she felt horrible. She was starting to think, I'm not going to be able to do it. And she passed one of these tables where they're handing out refreshments, and someone handed her a half of an orange. She bit into it. She drank the orange juice. She ate the pulp. And she said within minutes, she felt amazing, and she finished. And she said she couldn't believe how fast and that little bit of orange juice and pulp changed her body. It was amazing. I really think there's signaling from the tongue that tells the body, hang in there, it's coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I believe that's true. So anyways, all that to say, you can teach an old dog a new trick. You can learn a new thing. And it's a fun experiment. And, I got this crazy picture on my wall of a guy hitting a double bicep. I don't look like a runner, but I am a marathoner now. So
Are you friends with Mark Bell? Do you know Mark Bell?
I know who he is, but we're not on a conversational basis.
Okay, because he's good friends with Joel Green, and I know you know Joe. Yeah, he ran a marathon recently too, which is pretty outstanding. Everybody, I can't do it because I have only half of a left foot after the surgery.
Oh. Wow.
So, yeah, it kind of sucks. I can run if I have to get out of the way of a wild animal, but probably that's the extent of it for the rest of my life.
Right.
But how did you sleep that night? Like you obviously trained for it. That's a lot of trauma to the body, especially when you're building up that kind of lactic acid buildup. How did you sleep that night? Did you sleep suck or did you sleep good?
I slept good, but I have a lot of things to help with my sleep. For sure. So I think, that's an area that, I've already kind of course corrected for because sleep is such a big issue. And my genetics don't lead to great sleep. And I tend to sleep less than most people.
To begin with.
Yeah. So I'm that was an argument that Matt and I had way back in the day. Is he was a kind of 8-9 hour guy and always felt groggy. And I was like, if I sleep more than 7 hours, it's problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to run in that 6-7 hour range is what's optimal for me. And, then I learned some other things. I was at my dentist. I was at a holistic dentist the other day. And I learned part of the reason that people have sleep problems is because of teeth compression that affects their trachea. So if you look at Weston's rice,
narrows
the trachea, and you can't produce as much nitric oxide, so you don't get as much oxygen. So you don't breathe through your nose at night. You breathe through your mouth. You're struggling for air, and you keep waking yourself up. Then there's sleep apnea. There's progressive conditions, especially as inflammation brings up over time. So we've got a huge crisis in sleeping in North America. We didn't understand the effects of blue light, televisions, computers, phones. We didn't understand the impact of Wi-Fi, electronics,
RF, right?
All the electromagnetic radiation pollution that we're having. So we have light pollution, we have electromagnetic pollution, we have hyperstimulation, both from external sources of information overload, as well as a lot of people are using a variety of stimulants in order to go through the day, which have a downside, especially as the day ends. And then we have dietary problems, and then we have these physiological issues, reduced trigger inflammatory responses, temperature aspects.
High blood. So here's one that people don't know about. High blood pressure will destroy your sleep.
Yeah.
Because high blood pressure is a stress to the body. It raises anxiety levels. A lot of people who wake up in the middle of the night, it could be glucose is dropping out. But if you use a glucometer and go, no, my blood sugar is great, then look at your blood pressure.
Correct.
So
when we're dealing, last year we went to the upgraded lab conference, used to be known as the Bulletproof Conference before, changes happened over at Bulletproof with Dave. Matt gave a talk on sleep. Now, I've been in this industry my entire life. So we're talking, I've been going to events and public events for 35 years. And so I'm pretty common about, you get a room of people and, guy gets a presentation, there's 2 or 3 questions. Number one, the room was filled to capacity when he gave his talk. And literally, I would say that 80% of the room, I'm not exaggerating here, when it went to the questions and answers, had their hands up.
Right.
Because they were suffering. When you do not have good sleep, you are extremely motivated to solve this problem.
Right.
Now, the other thing is you only know how good your sleep is based on your life. So if you've lived with relatively whatever level of sleep, whether that's awesome, poor, horrible, average, that's your reference point. And I would suggest that most people in the modern world absolutely have no idea what a great night's sleep feels like. They might have had one at one vacation at some point in, Bora Bora in 1978 or something on a trip. And man, I remember that time I was so relaxed, had a great night's sleep, and that's their only, it's an anomaly, not a occurrence. And our role and our mission is to help people have great sleep, because if you look at the Navy SEALs as a great example, I always like to look at extremes. Well, their biggest test that they have on Hell Week is to radically sleep deprive the prospective Navy SEALs and to see how they perform when they're completely screwed up from lack of sleep. How well is their decision making? There's nothing that they can do to increase stress more than to deplete them of sleep. It affects decision-making process. It affects your sense of awareness, your sense of self, perspective, physical endurance, mental fortitude, all of those things. So they literally sleep deprive people to push that. It's also a form of torture.
Mm-hmm.
They torture people through sleep
by not letting them sleep. Yeah.
So these are issues that we need to recognize as advocates of great health. And hopefully today we can reveal a couple of things that people can do to improve their quality of sleep and develop a sleep routine. And I think developing a sleep routine, if we get one thing away today, we can develop a sleep routine. I think you're going to have a better result.
First of all, I want to say sleep monitoring devices don't really give you what you need to know unless you are doing a sleep study and you're hooked up to an encephalogram and they're monitoring your breathing and your oxygen levels. That level of sleep study can give you some valuable information. But wearing a ring, wearing a bracelet, wearing a ring and a bracelet, those of you who know that there are days where your sleep device says you killed it, like you got 99% high quality sleep and you feel like crap. It's like, how could that be? How could that good of sleep leave me feeling like this? So I only pay attention to one thing. I record my sleeps with an app so I can hear if I snore or not. And I monitor my movements to see if I'm restless. That's the only thing I do now as far as monitoring sleep, because everything else is very subjective. It really is. But with that being said, when you had a good night's sleep, because you wake up alert and you don't feel like laying in bed. You feel like getting the day started. You want to jump out of bed. And as you start to move through the day, you feel it registers, man, I must have slept good last night. You say to yourself, man, I must have slept good because I feel good. That is the ultimate goal. Don't count on rings and bracelets and other things. Like I said, unless you're in a lab being studied, the rest of that stuff is hit or miss, in my opinion. What do you think?
I'm with you 100%. But, we have the advantage of growing up outside of the technological revolution that's happened. And most of the devices that people are using personally, first off, they're using secondary data metrics, which isn't entirely accurate. And then there's two aspects that data can deceive you. And that is, you know, we've evolved over billions of years into these extremely highly complex biological organisms with a lot of regulatory components that we just take for granted. They're operating all the time. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, as athletes and as people trying to, we were monitoring this. We used to write this stuff down. How did I feel in the morning? What was my pump like in the gym? You know, was I strong? Was I weak? So we were using real world points and correlating it with how we feel, our natural biofeedback, which is an evolutionary system developed over billions of years.
Right.
Now, today, I always use, you know, the Bud Light commercial is a great example. Spreadsheet logic from digital information. So, you know, Anheuser-Busch come up with this crazy idea. Hey, look, we got a low ESG score. And since BlackRock is determining the valuation of your company by your ESG score, so they can, you know, dictate corporate policy across the world and make profit.
And the money that goes into your company, right. The investments. Yeah.
So whoever the CEO is, you know, brings in somebody that says, we need to bring up our ESG score. That's going to help our valuation, right? So they do this whole process and they come up with this crazy idea to market this trans person as the new advocate and put them on beer cans. Now, I'm sure the data and logic based on the ESG score and this valuation all made sense. And, you know, everybody sat around the room like, oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah, it is going to be great.
You know, we're going to nail it. Our valuation, our stockholders are going to be great. This is awesome. But they checked out of the one thing that's the most important is who the hell is drinking the beer?
Right. It's not the people making the ESG scores. That's
no.
For sure.
The customer is the person drinking the beer. And that customer, that's not a message that's probably going to correlate with their end consumer. And it might be it'll probably one of the biggest studies in corporate decision-making process that's a failure. But I see this all the time with data-driven information. I call it spreadsheet logic. Look, how the advantage of a person who exercises regularly is that you have a baseline of performance on a day-to-day basis that you can monitor. How tired do I feel? How energized do I feel? How good was my pump? How strong was I? You know, all of those feedback mechanisms. Today, we've so removed ourselves from our bodies. We've disconnected from our feeling, and we've outsourced to these data-driven instruments, which is all great and all fine. And like you said, I get why people do that, and I understand the science. I don't want to discount science. But man, oh man, if you're getting that far away from if you can tell if you had a good night's sleep or not, you got a problem. And it's indicative that you're off course with properly tuning into your physiology.
Right. And tuning into your physiology is the only thing that's going to fix the problem.
Correct.
You know, you can look at this. So I want to put this up. So Taylor C asked about sex before bed. That depends. In my experience, sex before bed with men promotes a really restful night's sleep. That oxytocin goes up. Not always for women, even if they orgasm. A lot of times women become overstimulated. So that's a personal thing you got to work on. But I get it. Using your Oura Ring for HRV and for pulse oximeter is a good thing. But those things don't really play into improving your sleep. They may improve your performance, but they're not going to improve your sleep. So I like Oura Ring. I like all these things because it's like a blood pressure cuff. Blood pressure cuffs are so incorrect. If you check my blood pressure with the normal size cuff, it's going to be 12 to 15 points higher than if you use the right size cuff for my size arm. Number two, if my arm is rested on something at my heart height, I'm going to get one reading. If my arm is 15 degrees down, I'm going to get a higher reading. If I have to hold my arm out and tense my muscles up, so what it does is it allows you to ignore the error, but get some sort of direction. It's like a compass, like I'm going up, I'm going down. That's all these rings and devices can do. Again, short of a full-on sleep study. And there's a reason why doctors don't say to a patient, wear the Oura Ring, report it to me, and we'll see if you have sleep apnea, because there's so many other things going on in the body than what that ring can read. And that ring was developed the same way epidemiological scores for hormones have been developed, looking at a sick population and asking them, how do you feel? You feel like you slept well? Yeah, I guess I did. Okay, that must be that zone. So we really can't do it without a full-on sleep study, unless you become instinctively in tune with your body and you ignore all the other nonsense. That's my opinion.
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, so let's talk about what it. Let me see where we are before, because I know we're gonna have to take a break here. No, we got a couple minutes. So you know what? Let's take this break early.
All right,
let's do this now. Then when we come back, let's talk about the product, because the product works for a lot of people. I hear it, and this is important. I was using gummies and CBD to sleep, and while I slept, it vanquished my memory. Over time, I was having a harder time thinking of things. And also, THC of any type is a vascular constrictor in the brain, and it leads to memory issues that can last long beyond cessation of using it. So I am not a proponent any longer of using weed or CBD gummies or Delta 8 gummies. I'm not a proponent, because unless you're retired and you don't have to remember stuff anymore, in fact, you don't want to remember stuff anymore, I would avoid them. That's my personal, and I know I promoted them, but after I discovered what they did to me, I can't promote them any longer. I learn, and like a missile, I change directions appropriately. So that's my 2 cents on that. All right, let's do this. Let's take one quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about a product that you can use to improve your sleep. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Carl Lenore. I am the inventor of Gun Leash. Over 500,000 handguns are lost in the United States every year. If you carry a gun like I do, you are 300 times more likely to lose your gun. And 15% of those guns will end up in criminals' hands and used in the commission of a crime. Gun Leash solves that problem. Gun Leash is a patented, no-tracking proximity device the size of a postage stamp. It will alert you as soon as your gun is outside of your range, so you can never leave your gun behind. To learn more and to be notified when Gun Leash is available at the end of January, go to gunleash.com and get on our mailing list. Gun Leash. Never lose your gun, never leave your gun. There are lots of concerns about food supply today. That's why you need White Oak Pastures. White Oak Pastures will deliver food right to your doorstep. You don't even have to go out and be disappointed by shopping in grocery stores. The finest beef, pork, lamb, duck, and more can be found at White Oak Pastures. And now they even have seafood. And best of all, White Oak Pastures has a negative carbon footprint, which means that you don't have to feel guilty for eating your ribeye. Go to shrnetwork.biz/White Oak and use the code SUPERHUMAN to save 15% off. Great sleep upgrades you on virtually every level: body fat, muscle mass, mood, brain function, and countless other ways. But taking melatonin alone isn't the answer. Thanks to a brand new sleep formula developed by my friends at Bioptimizers, you can experience the best night's sleep ever. Sleep Breakthrough is a delicious sleep drink that supports your natural melatonin production and relaxation without creating a dependency, so you can have the best night's sleep on demand. It targets 5 different sleep pathways to give you the best sleep ever. And best of all, you'll wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated so that you can have the best day possible. For an exclusive offer for my listeners, go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 for 10% off. Plus, you can unlock special gifts with the value of at least $20. This is a limited time offer, so go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR right now. Remember those rectangular toaster pastries you used to love when you were a kid? Well, Legendary Foods has just made them better. The new cake-style tasty pastry is like nothing you've ever had before. With 20 grams of high-quality protein and less than 1 gram of sugar, you'll feel like you're cheating, but you're not. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use the code SHR10 to save 10% off your purchase of tasty pastries. Now available in cookies and cream, red velvet cake, birthday cake, blueberry, strawberry, brown sugar cinnamon, and hot fudge sundae. Go to shrnetwork.biz/legendary and use code SHR10 today.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. So we're talking about sleep breakthrough. Talk about sleep breakthrough from the standpoint of the different pathways it addresses to improve sleep quality, but not only sleep quality, but to promote the natural architecture of a good night's sleep that makes you feel refreshed.
Yeah, so there's a couple things that people are looking at when you're looking at sleep. There's sleep latency, how quickly you go to sleep. That's a big factor. I think a lot of people, particularly on the stimulant side, if they're overstimulated from a poor sleep pattern, will have problem with sleep latency. And essentially, what does that mean? It's how quickly you can get into the early stages of REM. And there's various components of REM. And, I'm not a sleep scientist to break down all those nuances. Mm-hmm. But I will say this, that your ability to fall asleep and get into REM is the key aspect to setting up the architecture of your sleep, period. Now, in order to do that, I want to say, I'm always about doing the right things first before you take a product.
Right.
And, it sounds odd as a supplement company advocate, but I want people to solve the problems. I always say you can't supplement your way out of a bad lifestyle.
Right.
But the right supplement with a good lifestyle can really turbocharge things. So what I would say, first and foremost, for getting into the latency side to go to sleep quickly, number one, no stimulating devices at least an hour before. That's a general. Some people it's more, some people it's less. Most people lean to the more side. 2, turn off all electromagnetic pollution stuff or light in your room, like alarm clocks, those little lights on your televisions, all these things that can create light on the body. You have these photosynthetic responsive cells in your body that will trigger awakeness. I notice this in hotels. I know some people will actually bring black electrical tape and tape those things in the hotels or pull plugs on things. You can also check for dirty pollution if you're close to a smart meter, for example, which can be very stimulatory. For example, I'm here in Los Angeles, and you got to have a lot of sleep mitigators right off the bat compared to like a few weeks ago. I was in Sedona, Arizona, and my capability to get deep sleep there was far superior than here in Los Angeles. So those are the early things. Number 2, you want to have a bed that is suited for your body type. So if you've got wide shoulders, narrow hips, or wide hips and narrow shoulders, the style of bed that you're going to have so that you don't move around and that you keep your spine regularly safe. If you're a back sleeper, side sleeper, front sleeper, all of those things are factors. And then temperature cooling. Taking your body temperature down, the faster you can drop your body temperature, the quicker you get into latency. So some people have found, for example, Tim Ferriss is an advocate of this. They take their body temperature up either with a hot bath or a sauna. Come out of the sauna, the temperature drop indicates to your body, oh, now it stimulates the processes for you to architect type getting into that REM quickly. So all of those factors, I know I turn my temperature to 68 degrees to get myself in a cool state. And if I don't do that, sometimes I forget. I notice I wake up a lot or have trouble going to sleep. You can play with temperatures. I mean, I grew up in Canada where, when I was a kid, there would be frost on the bed and I slept fine. So I do think a cool environment. So those are the setups beforehand. Second, when you're talking about the product side of how you want to get into a sleep state, there's a few things that will help. Things like L-theanine. L-theanine, it's common in green tea. This is what L-theanine essentially does, is it reduces the stimulatory effect of any stimulants that you've taken. It offsets. Most of us are on stimulants of some sort. Some of us are nootropics. lot of people doing caffeine. There's a lot of food products that are stimulatory in nature, especially the further you get away from natural foods, right? You know, and red dyes, preservatives, sugars, chemical agents, all those sort of things, and drugs of various sorts can be very stimulatory, and a lot of people are on prescriptions. Check for that. So that's the first thing. The other thing is glycerin. So 3 grams of glycerin has been known to trigger a drop in body temperature. So that's another thing, again, in that first part of that sleep, to really get into that quickly dropping into latency, glycine. Glycine.
No, but wait, I gotta say, people who get up and pee a lot at night, glycerin will keep you from getting up and peeing often because it pulls fluid into the muscles.
And also inside of that, there's potassium sometimes for some people. So if you're one of those people that urinate a lot at night, try adding a little bit of potassium citrate or something like that before you go to bed, like a half teaspoon or something like that. And a lot of people will experience that eliminates that because you have a regulatory issue in your neurotransmitters. So those are some quick things that will help you get into that. Now, the next stage, moving into the deeper aspects of sleep. So we have the REM sleep, okay, and then we have kind of which is like kind of alpha waves and stuff. Then you get to deep sleep. Deep sleep is correlated with theta. So this is the one that is, in my opinion, and a lot of other sleep, experts. And I'd say I'm a pseudo expert. I take from experts and try to metabolize this into useful information that you can utilize. This is what determines how great your sleep is. REM is kind of that dreamy state. It's like a defragging of the system, and it takes out the useless memories, the useless information, and concentrates what is relevant that I learned today that may serve to survival of the organism over time. So it's a defragging component. But the deep sleep is what is the regenerative process. So all the Aura Ring folks, they're always looking at their deep sleep score. But I would say the deeper the sleep that you get, the more restorative the sleep is for the individual. And that correlates with theta wave production. Now, in order to get there, you need a couple of things. Now, this is one of the takeaways why so many people use melatonin, exogenous melatonin. Your body produces a small amount of melatonin, and your melatonin production often triggers that deep sleep state. Exogenous melatonin, most of the supplements that people are taking, you're taking way more than you're taking like super physiological doses. You're taking like bodybuilding dosages of steroids equivalent in sleep stuff. So you look at bodybuilders that are 300 pounds at 5'8" and stuff like that. There's an overproduction that limits a lot in their life. Same thing if you take too much melatonin. Number one, you downregulate its response. Number two, you disrupt your own production. And number three, you often create counter effects to having this deep sleep production. Now, melatonin is one of the things that are good for circadian rhythms. And I do believe that the judicious use of melatonin, especially when you travel, to reset your circadian rhythms is advantageous. Ideally, you want to be able to produce more melatonin naturally so that you stimulate your own production, because your body is really good at releasing the precise amount in the precise dosage to put you into that deep sleep. Your body wants deep sleep, if you to say want, or is designed to produce the regenerative. If you're not able to develop your own melatonin, there's some reasons why that is. You probably have some deficiencies in GABA, zinc, magnesium. Magnesium, it metabolizes into melatonin production. So all of the sleep people are focusing on melatonin, but they're using it from an exogenous standpoint. And melatonin tends to decrease as we get old. So ideally, we want to take a number of nutritional supplements that ensures that our body is able to produce sufficient amounts of melatonin on our own so we can drop down into that deep sleep. So the first part of our formula is to help people with sleep latency. Hopefully you're stacking that with your system. Second thing, we're providing the key elements that allow you to produce melatonin in the precise amounts. So L-theanine, that's a great one. Zinc orotate. So how zinc works, zinc, melatonin, and magnesium all work together. So zinc is a cofactor. And of course, a lot of us have zinc deficiencies. Men particularly, I don't think I've ever found a man who hasn't done better in life with a little bit of zinc supplementation. Great for testosterone. But I notice if I don't take zinc regularly, my sexual drive drops off. My energy production fights off, and my resistance to colds, flus, things like that, because zinc is part of that process. But it's also a cofactor in producing melatonin and works also with magnesium. So zinc, remember the old ZMA supplements?
Yeah, man, I know that put that company on the map.
Yeah,
his name now, the Italian guy, but
yeah,
Victor Conti.
Yeah, exactly. So there was this, 20 years ago, ZMA became the big thing in the bodybuilding circle because bodybuilders were pounding stimulants like crazy and training like mad, and they were exhausting their zinc and magnesium access. And this guy came up with zinc magnesium aspartate, ZMA, and guys were taking it and they're like, dude, I can't believe it. I'm getting stronger in the gym. My testosterone, everything's feeling better.
And it was just minerals. I mean, think about it.
Just minerals. So zinc orotate's really good. There's a whole bunch of sleep studies.
I got to be honest. You're talking about this. I've been struggling with what I could classify as chronic fatigue. I train hard. Maybe I'm overtrained. I have to start taking. I get plenty of magnesium. I need to start taking zinc. I forgot, but I eat a lot of meat. I'm figuring I eat a lot of red meat. There's a lot of zinc in it, but I'm going to start supplementing with zinc.
Yeah, for me, I take a zinc copper. I like the ratio, and I take about 20 milligrams of zinc a day, micrograms, and it's great. Yeah. I do use Sleep Breakthrough, which we do have a dose of that inside of that. When it comes to magnesium for sleep, bisglycinate has a lot of research, particularly in both reducing the latency and also dropping cortisol. So cortisol is the end product of an overstimulated environment, and I'm sensitive to cortisol. I actually love cortisol. I love stimulants. I love that up feeling.
Yeah.
So that's an issue that people want to address. Making sure. So magnesium bisglycinate. There's a bunch of studies, particularly around seniors. The research was showing, because a lot of seniors have problems sleeping. As you get older, sleep issues tend to go bigger. Magnesium bisglycinate was shown in a lot of studies to be able to help with sleep latency and improve overall sleep scores. And also the reduction of that stress feeling. I think that's more of its ability to drop cortisol levels, the response from cortisol. Maybe not so much on the melatonin production, but more on the reduction of the effects of cortisol.
Well, and melatonin will spontaneously reduce cortisol.
Correct.
So, and there's a small amount, and really, the only clinically studied amount of melatonin has been 600 micrograms.
Yeah.
Where they got 3 milligrams from, I don't know. They got 3, 5, 10. I mean, they have a 520 milligram suppository of melatonin that's given to women with fibromyalgia because it has powerful effects on pain management. So melatonin is magic, but we take way too much of it, as you point out.
Yeah, and long term, I think it has some consequences as well. Although there is a guy out there, I forget his name, that takes these like super physiological doses of melatonin.
The scientist, you mean?
I don't know.
Dr. Russell Ryder has been on my show numerous times. He's in his 80s. He's still at University of Texas at Dallas, and he is known as the godfather of the pineal gland. He has published over 400 studies on the pineal gland and its primary hormone melatonin, Penelon, and he's brilliant. But at 80, he takes 60 milligrams a night before bed.
Yeah.
He's still cognitive. I mean, the guy is sharp as a tack.
Yeah, it's amazing. P5P is another product. So it's basically an active form of B6.
Right.
So again, what does that do? It helps regulate the electrical functions in your body. So sometimes when you're overstimulated, you got too much juice in the muscles, essentially. And you want to reduce that, so that helps that. And then here's one from the old party days, 5-HTP. Now
that backloads melatonin. That allows your body to make it. That gives you the bricks and mortar to make more melatonin.
Now, I got first exposed to 5-HTP because I was a wild man for a period in my life, and I used to do a lot of disco biscuits. And we used to take 5-HTPA to avoid what we called Suicide Tuesdays. And we'd party all Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then you'd get this depression feeling by Tuesday that was horrible because your neurotransmitters.
By disco biscuits, you mean MDMA, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I love going out dancing and all that sort of raving.
Oh yeah, I mean it's amazing stuff. And the College of London is working with microdoses of MDMA to cure major depressive disorders. Not as much as we would take to go to a rave, but just enough to go, wow, everything kind of looks great today.
Yeah, it's also being used in neurofeedback training as a way to expand alpha and awareness, alpha wave, which is usually connected with heart base because it's very heart expanding kind of feeling. So a lot of research in that area. It's an area that we examine extensively, neurofeedback. I think neurofeedback will override cognitive behavioral theory. I think the data is in. I think correlate the two of them together. I think it's going to be amazing over the next decade. I think there's a lot of research and cutting edge research around that. So off topic, but always good to talk about these things.
Yeah.
But 5-HTP, what is it? How does it work? It actually helps you produce GABA, right? And GABA is that relaxed but aware feeling that is associated with green tea. So it eliminates the jitters or this overstimulation and helps you get into that relaxed recovery state. And that was another bodybuilding drug that was used back in the day. Remember, right?
It was called Blue Rhino. It was GHB, GBL.
That's
but
right.
I also think 5-HTP backloads serotonin as well, and serotonin is the direct precursor to melatonin.
Exactly.
I think 5-HTP does.
And there'll be variances in people's neurotransmitter dominance. So we have another company called Newtopia, and we customize cognitive enhancement blends. But you can go there's a test you can take online. It's called the Braverman test, which will determine your neurotransmitter dominance.
Tendencies, dopamine dominant, testosterone dominant, estrogen dominant. He had he was way ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time. Now, he ran into some other things, but the test is solid. And it's good to know this because what's good for the goose is not nearly good for the gander. And depending on your neurotransmitter dominance is going to determine the efficacy, how much of a product you might need, how little you need. And so anyways, it's good to know. But again, 5-HTP, very good for that. And what we've done with, I'll show you a little bottle of the sleep break.
And real quick, 5-HTP is great to reduce carbohydrate craving.
Yes.
You can take it throughout the day. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we got this sleep breakthrough, and it comes in a little really easy to drink format. Now, what's great about that is dose specific. I would suggest people start on 1 scoop to start, maybe 30 minutes before you go to bed, and then increase your dosage over period of a week or two till you get the desired results. I know some people that like 4 scoops. I know some people that know 1 scoop. I'm a 3 scoop guy. So you can determine that. And why we did it that way is so that people can kind of feel what's the right dosage for them.
Right.
If I take 4, it's too much. I don't sleep as well as if I take 3.
Yes, if I take 4, it agitates me. I can't sleep well. If I take 1, it's good. I get a restful night's sleep. It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So we put all this together. Matt, my business partner, struggled with sleep all his life. He's as motivated around sleep as anybody I've ever met in my life. He spent, I don't know how much money on his sleep systems. So some of the indications I gave people earlier all come from what I've learned from Matt. And then this formula, I think, it's transforming people. We got people that are just remarkable. And if you are an Aura Ring person, so when we released this at the upgraded event, and we had that meeting I told you about,
right?
All the people, everybody, we sold out we came out of the meeting, we sold out all the product. That was our release point. The next day, we had dozens and dozens of people coming to the booth, showing their phones and their sleep scores because they were doubling their deep sleep. The deep sleep. And so if you are tracking this, I personally guarantee that your deep sleep will improve. If it doesn't, you get your money back. Right. If you don't use the tracking advice and you don't wake up feeling refreshed without groggy, we give you your money back. Right. If you don't like the taste, I think the taste is amazing. It mixes up, feels great, tastes great. You don't like it, you get your money back. Like the idea,
and that's really important. I was going to emphasize that because there's like 3.6 million sleep products on the market today because everybody's sleep sucks, and none of them give you your money back if it doesn't work. Yes, that's an important factor because not everything works for everybody.
Exactly. And so dose. So let's review. Get your sleep routine down. Follow some of those suggestions that we have. Number 2, take the dosage that's right for you. Anywhere usually between 1 and 4. Most people are a 2 or 3 scooper of the sleep breakthrough, maybe 30 minutes before you go to bed. If you are a pee person, you might want to add a little bit of potassium citrate or something like that. If you urinate a lot during bed, and then feel your dosage, whether you're tracking it through biofeedback or tracking it on a machine, and then see how it feels. And what a lot of people have found is they swear by this product. We have about 7 out of the 10 people who take this product. That's what our data shows. 7 out of 10 people that take this product rave about this product. About 10% doesn't work for them. And the other 20% say, hey, that's pretty good. And about over half of our customers actually just go on the subscription service because it's made such a difference in your life. So I know that literally half of your listeners to this list right now, for sure, without a question of the doubt, are going to experience better sleep using this product. And the great thing is the other half are going to get a refund if it doesn't work for them. So why do we do that? Because we want you to continue participating in the quality of your life. And it's why we've been around so long. It's when we were on the Inc. 500 last year. We came in as the 3rd fastest growing supplement company in America because we take care of you. We want you to do great. We want you to feel great. And if we can't help you, we give you your money back in order to do that. But I think you'll be delighted with the product. Oh, we lost your sound.
Back.
There you go. Yeah.
We're going to take our last commercial break. Now, I got to get rid of this board. Last commercial break, and then we're going to answer a couple questions. So stick with us. Stay with us. Great sleep upgrades you on virtually every level: body fat, muscle mass, mood, brain function, and countless other ways. But taking melatonin alone isn't the answer. Thanks to a brand new sleep formula developed by my friends at Bioptimizers, you can experience the best night's sleep ever. Sleep Breakthrough is a delicious sleep drink that supports your natural melatonin production and relaxation without creating a dependency, so you can have the best night's sleep on demand. It targets 5 different sleep pathways to give you the best sleep ever. And best of all, you'll wake up feeling rested and rejuvenated so that you can have the best day possible. For an exclusive offer for my listeners, go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR and use the code SHR10 for 10% off. Plus, you can unlock special gifts with the value of at least $20. This is a limited time offer, so go to sleepbreakthrough.com/SHR right now. BPC is one of the most amazing supplements you can use. It's been shown to increase the speed of recovery, heal the gut, and do so many other things. BPC stands for Body Protection Compound, and it's a naturally occurring peptide in the body. Used by professional athletes and weekend warriors alike, there has always been an obstacle in the way of average people using BPC, and that is it was injectable only. Not any longer, thanks to NutriNeeds. We now have oral BPC, and it works. Go to shrnetwork.biz/NutriNeeds, NutraNeeds. Use the code SHR and save 10% off your bottle of BPC. Feel better, recover faster, train harder. NutriNeeds.
Dogs should be powered by fat and protein, not carbs. That's why Visionary Pet makes low-carb, ketogenic dog food for dogs of all breeds and life stages. From kibble to freeze-dried and even low-carb treats, all Visionary Pet recipes are very low-carb, ketogenic, and made with 100% real meat protein. Shop now and use code SHR for 20% off your first order today. Your dog deserves the lifelong benefits of optimal nutrition. Make the switch to Visionary and see why smart dogs eat low carb.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
Test. Okay.
There you go.
So we have a couple questions we got to get to before we finish the interview. So Taylor C said, he's got this confused. Isn't glycerin good for collagen sources? No, collagen is 30% glycine by weight. So if you take a collagen supplement, you're getting glycine in that. And then he's asking about sleeping grounded. Have you ever done this? I have. I have some opinions on it. What do you think?
Well, it depends on what you're using for grounding. So there was these blankets that came out back in the day, the grounding sheets and all that sort of stuff. And there's some dubious nature about some of that stuff. And then there's actually grounding where you actually get your feet physically on the ground. I found the latter superior to the grounding technology. Some people swear by the grounding sheets and things like that. I always say experiment with it.
So here's something fascinating. I did an Instagram earlier this year where I took a volt ohm meter into the bathroom and into the shower, and I put one end of it in the ground side of an electrical outlet in my bathroom and the other end in the stream of water, and it went to ground. You ground every time you shower. I'm not sure about bathing because of the spigot, not the spigot, but the drain, if it has plastic, blah, blah, blah. But the water coming out of your shower head and any faucet in your house is connected to earth somewhere along the line in a metal pipe. So every day we ground, but yet people feel like, I need to ground. The other thing I want to say is if you are grounding yourself with the blanket and it's metallic, you're attracting more radio frequencies. We just talked about how RF is not really good when you sleep. You're literally becoming it's called attenuation. You're becoming a sink. That RF is hitting that blanket. If your skin is touching that blanket, it's coming to you as well. Carbon is the only thing that will work if you want to be shielded from all the RF in your environment. Get something that's tantamount to a mosquito net.
Gotta get those Faraday cages.
Yeah, if you want to invest in a Faraday cage, and they're made with ferrite, which is a type of carbon a composite. Those things work. Attaching your ankle to a ground, whether it's the ground on your electrical outlet or literally going out and putting a spike in the earth and running it into your bedroom window, is horrendously dangerous, because if lightning strikes, your ass is going to get lit up. So I'm not a fan of these new grounding apparatuses. Take a shower, stand outside in the grass, lay in the grass. Those things are cool. And avoid anything that is going to make you an antenna. That's my opinion on that. So there you go. All right, so let's plug the product one more time. If you are having great sleep and want to upgrade, or if your sleep sucks like everybody else, maybe you don't have the hemorrhoids, but your sleep sucks, check the product out. You can get there a lot of ways. You can go to bioptimizers.com/ I think it's superhuman, right? I'm sorry. These are the two in front of my face, so I'm going to give them. But the latter one, shronetwork.biz/bioptimizers, takes you to a page where every Bioptimizers product is listed, so you can get more than just Sleep Breakthrough. Or you can go to shronetwork.biz/sleep breakthrough to be taken right to that product. Use the code SHR10 to save 10% off. I say go to shronetwork.biz/bioptimizers and check out all the other amazing products while you're there. That's the best bet. But definitely get Sleep Breakthrough. Give it a try. Like we said, you can't get hurt. If it doesn't work, you get your money back. So at least you'll know if it works for you. So there you go. Earth Runners sandals for grounding as well. They're leather, right? Because we all wear rubber soles. That's true too. But anyway, this has been great to see you back sitting behind your camera. And I'm sure you're getting ready to jetson off to someplace new. Where will you be in the upcoming months?
I got to go to Texas, London, a speaking event in London, a biohacking event. Then we're down to upgraded event in Florida near the end of the month. So going to go see a couple of my Olympia friends. We had Big Brahmi that was using our stuff. And then, of course, Natalia, the Miss Olympia Coella, she just won the Pittsburgh show, and she just won the New York Night of Champions again.
Wow.
So she's going to be hanging out at the booth for a little bit. They all use our products, which is really great for me because I wanted to be Mr. Olympia, didn't have the genetics for it. And to have these people using our products and,
hang out with them
hanging out with them is really cool. It's really cool for me because it's like, well, okay.
You're a fan. You're a fan. You're a fan. That's wonderful.
I'm a total fan. Well, I understand how hard it is to be the best in the world in a sport that is so hard. These are extraordinary people who are extraordinarily disciplined, and I have a lot of respect for what they're able to achieve. And a lot of people don't understand that. But because maybe they don't like bodybuilders.
Bodybuilding is a harder sport than football, basketball, baseball, because those sports have off seasons.
That's right.
There is no off season for bodybuilding. The off season is when you're working the hardest, and then when you're competing, you're working hard again, and then you go back to working harder to get bigger. And it's a decade of not missing a meal, not missing a session, not having a girlfriend or boyfriend. It's a very solitary. A lot of people can't do it, and the people who do it because they love it, because there's not a lot of money in it.
No, I mean, I think 1965. There's 15 Mr. Olympias in the males. So that's how since 1965, there's only been like 15 or 16 champions, whatever it is, ever. So in the last almost 60 years. There's only been 15 people to actually be able to hit the highest level. There's been a lot of people that's won, Super Bowls, or basketball champions, or baseball champions, or heavyweight. How many heavyweight champions of the world have there been since that time?
Right.
It's very difficult.
Once you get into that place where you're in that zone, and then you just keep getting bigger and better. And Ronnie Coleman was Mr. Olympia, 8 times?
Yeah.
8 or 9 times?
Yeah.
Lee Haney was 5 or 6
he was
times?
8. Lee was 8. I think Dorian was 6.
Yeah. Once you get to that precipice, then it's just a matter of continuing, doubling down, working harder, being more of a hermit, training, eating, sleeping every day for decades. Yeah, it's no off.
Crazy.
All right, brother. Good spending time with you.
Always a slice, Carl.
We'll catch up soon, okay?
You got it. Take care. Have a great day.
We'll see. We got a show Friday. It's a good show. I can't tell you what it is right now, but it's something to do with blood, I believe. Ooh. Yeah, you know me and my fascination with blood. All right, see everybody later. Stay tuned for more this week.